How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. It helps out, means a ton. You guys get plenty of fun stuff. So I do the fan translations for these reviews so I can get them out earlier. I'm even a day late on those because I just got back from vacation, and I tell you what, it's good to be back. It feels weird. I have not sat in this seat and like talked in front of the camera for over a week, almost a week. I don't know. It's been too long. So getting into it, we got 158 for Jujutsu Kaisen today, and it was a ton of fun. Absolutely loved it. Great chapter, and we start off with Hikari finally getting the news that Gojo has been sealed. I was kind of curious on how much this specific bit of information had spread over time, or over the past few days or week or 2 weeks or however long it's been. And apparently not too terribly much, but it is possible that Hikari is kind of a fringe case for, well-named, well-established sorcerers that are really concretely stuck into the Jujutsu world. He might be a fringe case of not knowing about Gojo because he's kind of separated himself from the Jujutsu world at the moment. He's been doing his own thing with his fight club and Hoshi, and he hasn't been talking to the school or people from it or anything. So I understand why Hikari didn't know about that. This is when Panda decides to drop the bomb on everybody, and he even mentions it. He goes, I don't mean to make this sound like an afterthought because Gojo's sealed, but Yaga also kind of died. And he seems pretty nonchalant about it, and everybody's like, wait a minute, what? And Yuji especially has a very concerned look on his face, and Panda stops him in his tracks and goes, don't worry, Yuji, it didn't happen in Shibuya. So yeah, Yuji's first thought was, oh my god, did I kill Yaga? Did Sukuna kill Yaga when he killed everybody? Because that's still incredibly heavy on Yuji's mind. That's not gonna go away, possibly ever. So Panda stops me. He's like, no, that wasn't it. Yuji still tells him, like, that isn't really the point. He was your... And Panda goes, no, it's okay. I'm fine. So everybody kind of just lets it be at that because Panda's handling it very well. Even more well than I would really expect him to. I mean, granted, Panda's not like a typical person. I mean, technically, he's not even a person in the first place, but he still has those emotions and everything, but he's handling it very well, so he can kind of just let that lie and not continually trudge it up. So this is when Hikari starts going on about, okay, yes, I'm going to help you guys with the Culling games, but don't get it wrong, this is a deal. I help you, you help me. I'm not just doing this out of the kindness of my heart. So he wants to meddle in Jujutsu laws and rules. Panda kind of clarifies that since cursed spirits, curses, all this stuff is public knowledge now after what happened in Shibuya, something's gonna have to change. Laws, rules, regulations for Jujutsu and Jujutsu sorcerers are gonna undergo changes, so this would be a good time for somebody like Hikari and somebody like Hoshi who don't really get along with the higher ups of Jujutsu society because they have those like non-standard techniques that are kind of like shunned and not really accepted that well. It's a good chance for them to get in and get in better standings in just the Jujutsu world as a whole. So Megumi ends up speaking up like, yeah, this really isn't gonna be that hard. So yeah, that's fine, we can do that. Hikari kind of takes a little acceptance. He's like, what are you even talking about, sea urchin? Megumi tells him, he's like, I'm the head of the Zenin clan? This, according to Hikari, he's like, I'm sorry to the other two, but this is the bombshell of the evening, okay? And fair enough, yeah, he has the head of one of the three big clans saying, yeah, I'll help you out, change a rule or whatever. Okay, yeah, we're just gonna stroll right into that. Now, keep in mind, these guys don't know. Actually, I believe it was stated in the chapter that this happened. This is all happening before the stuff with Maki killing the Zenin clan. I think it said that happened a couple days later. So, yeah, as of right now, when Megumi's saying that, yeah, he's the head of the full Zenin clan, fully intact, all of this stuff. But what we don't know is that kind of goes down the drain a little bit, even though we don't know exactly how it's going to affect everything. But anyway, Hikari is just killing me because he's sitting over there like, let's get along, Megumi, yes. This dude is simping for Megumi just because he's the head of the Zenin clan, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, that was hilarious. Gotta love Akutami for that. This is when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a Kogane pops up and starts ringing. Remember, a Kogane is one of those little intermediary little flying guys that are basically your little pocket cell phone for the culling games, I guess you could call it. And it says that a player has added a rule. The information of all players will now be revealed. Name, points, how many times they've changed a rule, and location. This is when we hop back just a little bit to see what transpired to make this rule. And we have a sorcerer from 400 years ago who we figure out is looking for Sukuna. So, a little bad blood there. And they also mentioned that all the guys I fought so far are pretty weak. It's a little worse than 400 years ago. The word little was in there. Granted, this is a fan translation, so that might change for the official release. But yeah, it said a little. So we might not be that far off from the standard level of a sorcerer from 400 years ago. That's very possible. It might not necessarily be this huge gap where, 400 years ago, sorcerers just blew everybody else out of the water. It did say a little bit, so keep that in mind. So we figure out the name of this sorcerer is Kashimo Hajime. And that's basically all we get from them for the rest of this chapter. We cut back to Yuji, Megumi, and the gang, and the Kogane. Megumi starts mentioning, he goes, why are you talking differently than before? The Kogane says, back then, I was talking as a mediator for the culling games as a whole. Now, I'm speaking as Yuji Itadori's personal Kogane. So it has a little bit of a personality change when it's speaking for somebody or to somebody directly. This is Yuji's Kogane, so it picks up off Yuji's personality and stuff like that. This also tells us that Yuji is pretty much, he's competing in the culling games right now. He's already in it. Megumi finds this kind of strange, however, because Yuji isn't somebody that Kenjaku made a deal with, fed a cursed object to, or whatever to make this happen. He states that Yuji ate the finger of his own free will. Megumi is even the witness for this. This is where we're getting into that, Aizen territory of I planned all of this out for you. I made all of you do this from behind the scenes, pulling the strings. Because depending on how all of this works, it is a possibility that it still counts if Kenjaku pulled the strings to make these events happen in a very specific way, thereby in a roundabout way feeding the cursed object to Yuji himself. It's roundabout, it's weird, but it can also be connected through things like binding vows, cursed energy. Perhaps there was a binding vow with Sukuna of some weird, strange kind that somehow made that roundabout rule happen and work. But nonetheless, Yuji's in the situation. This is just how it is. Whether it makes sense because Yuji ate the finger of his own free will or not, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, this is what we're left. So we start checking the list, and we see that somebody has changed a rule and still has 100 points left. That means they had 200, used the rule to make, the rule that we have now showing the information. And this gets gears turning for Megumi and Yuji. And we start, real quick, there was a nice little moment where Megumi tells the Kogane to, search for everybody. And it goes, I listen to Yuji. And Yuji's like, it's fine, you can listen to Fushiguro. It's just so Yuji. He's like, no, it's fine. You can listen to him. I don't know why. I found that just so endearing, and I just love that moment for some reason. So Megumi mentions that considering a lot of these people that are brought into the culling games through binding vows and things like Kenjaku, they didn't do that for Kenjaku's benefit. They didn't do that just so they could be resurrected here and now to play the culling games for Kenjaku. So they have their own motivations, their own things they want to do. They aren't motivated to help Kenjaku by any means. So this gives us a little more leeway with the other participants in the culling games. It's not like we're having to fight a ton of Kenjaku's forces to get to him. It's all independent people, so that makes a lot more variables that you can kind of pull and twist around and do funky stuff with. Big thing, if you beat the crap out of somebody who has 100 points, but doesn't have any initiative to make a rule for themselves because they don't have a motivation to, and you tell them to make a rule, or you're just going to keep torturing them by beating the crap out of them over and over and over again, you can just torture somebody into making a rule for you. What we can do now is, like I said, basically torture somebody into making a rule for us. Not really torturing, you're just fighting them, but you know what I mean. If you win the fight and they're like, no, I'm not making a rule for you, At that point, it's like, all right, fine. Make a new rule. No. Make a new rule. No. Make a new rule. No. Make a new rule. Yes. Okay, thank you. Like, when you come down to that, that's what you're gonna have to do if they don't want to give in right away. That's that, or I guess you could talk to them, maybe, but I mean, how do you really convince somebody to do it for you just because, like, I don't know. Anyway, seems like physical incentive would work a little bit more than vocal incentive in this case. But anyway, big thing, we want to make a rule that allows players to exchange points freely. That way, we can negate the rule that says if your points don't change over 19 days, you will suffer through curse technique removal. This means you don't have to kill anybody to raise your points throughout those 19 days. You can beat the person up, have them make this rule, then go find another person with a few points, beat them up, and say, give me your points. Then, and you can leave them with like 1 point or whatever if they want to try and exchange with somebody. They'll probably just go kill somebody else anyway, so it doesn't matter for them. But anyway, you can tell them to give you their points, then you can just pass them back and forth with your buddies, and you guys don't have to worry about it. Honestly, if you just wanted to survive through the culling games, you could hunker down and just pass points back and forth every day. Like, that's all you need to do. Good, there you go. Another rule that we want to try and make, but we're not 100% sure that the Kogane will let us, is allowing people to exit the culling games. Now, there is going to have to be a stipulation because just that by itself would contradict previous rules. But if you let a non-player take a player's spot, it is possible that the Kogane will let a player leave the game for that exchange. So that's the big thing we want to do, and we know that we have 2 targets with 100 points. I think one had 101 points or something like that. I can't remember. These are our previously stated sorcerer, Kashimo, I believe it was, and Higuruma Hiromi. We are going to hunt them for their points, make our own rules, and then we will finally get things going. It is time to start getting into the culling games. I cannot wait. This is going to be hype. If this doesn't end up being peak Jujutsu Kaisen, I don't know what happened. Something tore the universe asunder, because I do not see any possible way that Akutami does not finish out the culling games and not have it be an absolutely phenomenal standout arc. I can't see it going down that way. Right now, I can't. I have too much faith in the man. So this was a super fun chapter. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the chapter. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, like I said, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. It helps out, means a ton. You guys get plenty of fun stuff. So with that being said, I'm glad to be back, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.